So what happens? What do you do?
They were his workers.
So what?
They didn't speak English.
Oh, well, you haven't said that until now. I've been at you for 2 minutes, and you just said that now. Well, Judge, we couldn't communicate. I couldn't communicate that because they didn't speak English. Did you just think I assumed that because they were gardeners? That they were Hispanic? I mean, what the heck?
This is the plaintiff, Linda Hayes. She says the defendant's her neighbor, and her tree guy damaged her fence and he won't pay to have it fixed. She has no other choice but to sue her neighbor because she hired this careless tree guy, and she needs to pay her the $150 she needs to get the fence fixed properly. This is the defendant, Natalie Fergus. She says she's been a neighbor of the plaintiffs for 20 years, and the woman is the neighbor from hell who complains about every little thing because she has nothing better to do. Bottom line, the annoying woman settled with the tree guy who fixed her fence, and she's done with all of this. She's accused of not mending fences.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Millian in our forum, the People's Court.
People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Millian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Hayes. Ms. Fergus is your neighbor, correct?
Yes.
And at some point in March of this year, what happened? She asked your permission to be able to cut down a tree. Tell me about the tree.
The tree is in her property, but it hung over into mine over the fence.
Okay.
And, yes.
And had you complained about that to her or something?
No.
Okay.
No.
So, Ms. Fergus, why were you wanting to trim the tree on all sides or something? Why was it you needed to trim it on her side?
Okay, so Linda has been complaining about this tree during the time I lived here. She's complained about the grass on in my front yard. When I moved in, I fell. Okay, so anyway, because she complained so many years, finally I'm able to pay a little bit of money towards this tree. Now, this tree guy, I found him across the street. I paid him $1,000 because this tree is a nuisance, period. It is. It's not my tree. It was here. So I topped the tree off this year.
You own the property now, right?
Right, I do.
Okay.
Exactly. So now that I own the property, I'm trying to get the property in a better condition than it was.
So you send word because apparently your daughter and her granddaughter are good friends or something?
They're best friends.
Best friends.
If you call it to me, they like sisters, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure Linda could say that her granddaughter
and
and my
is that
daughter
because
are
they
very
grew up in those houses or no? I'm
sure.
Okay, because they were neighbors. Okay, that's what I was trying to figure.
They were neighbors.
All right,
Correct.
so now, so you send word through the girls to find out if it's okay if your guy can step on her property in order to trim the tree. And she says yes. And what happens? What goes wrong, Ms. Hayes?
Prior to that, she had told me that the tree person was insured, so not to worry. And so that Wednesday, when they were cutting the tree down, I was home, and they were cutting it down. That Thursday, I walked to the back because that's where the tree was located, in the back of her property. That's when I saw that they had busted 3 panels of my fencing. And I was like, what happened? So I didn't see her. So I went back outside. They were clearing branches from her property, and their truck was parked in front of her house. So that's when I looked at the truck. There was no phone number. So I took a picture of the truck. I took a picture of his license. So that was Thursday. That Saturday, I was cleaning my yard, and I heard someone in the back moving the fence. So I walked to the back of the yard.
Wait. So did you stop? Did you tell them, hey, you damaged my fence?
He was bending the fence back.
No, I'm not talking about when you caught him bending the fence back. I mean when you walked to the front and the truck was there and they were dragging limbs.
The owner was not there, and I never saw the people.
Yes, he
They
was.
were still in her yard. I never saw
So,
them.
but you
I
never
didn't-
called over.
always came.
Just a second, Miss Fergus, don't just start talking in the middle of us. Ms. Hayes, they're still working there. Don't you call over and say, hey, I need to see the supervisor. You guys broke my fence.
No, I didn't.
Why not?
I just didn't. I was like kind of in shock that my fence was busted, but then like I understood from her that he was insured.
Yeah, but it's kind of important to tell them on the spot that this happened. So what happens? What do you do?
They were his workers.
So what?
They didn't speak English.
Oh, now you haven't said that until now. I've been at you for 2 minutes and you just said that now. Well, Judge, we couldn't communicate. I couldn't communicate that because they didn't speak English. Did you just think I assumed that because they were gardeners, that they were Hispanic? I mean, what the heck? Ms. Hayes. All right, talk to me. What happens? That same day you talked to Ms. Fergus?
Yes.
All right, what do you tell her?
And I didn't say anything to her. She turned to me and said, they're insured. And that was the end of the conversation.
After the fact?
Yes.
Wait, but no one just walks out and says, they're insured and keeps walking.
She saw that the fence was busted.
Okay, so you come out. Do you talk to each other? Do you say, hey, you see how they busted my fence?
No.
So you're out there, and what are you doing? Staring at the fence, giving it a good stare? How is it you two communicate? Because she speaks English. So how?
Right. I said nothing to her, and the only thing she said to me is that he is insured.
Well, how did she know what you were thinking?
She knew the fence was busted. She was at home while they were cleaning.
Okay. All right.
He was home.
All right, let's look at the pictures of the fence, but also, can I just ask you a backup question here while I'm looking for the pictures? Do you two get along, or do you two not get along?
Most of the time we don't. That's why we don't communicate.
Why don't you get along?
For lots and lots of reasons.
Can I have two of them?
One, she's very argumentative, so I'm not an arguer. She will argue with me and call me out of my name, and I'm not an arguer. So I don't say anything to her because I'm not going to argue with her about anything.
Okay. Whose house is this? Whose house am I looking at here?
That's the back of my house last summer. That's the tree coming over onto my house.
Yeah.
This is the guy up in the tree cutting the tree on March the 10th. He's up in the tree cutting the tree. And if you go down, you can see my face.
Wait, I'm still looking for the guy. Hold on one second.
Oh, maybe that's not his ladder.
All right,
he came down because the ladder fell.
And what is this?
That's one of the panels. It's busted. Then the panel to the left, that's all crinkled. And
right. Yeah.
That's the last panel that's busted.
Okay. So
it's 3 panels.
If I understand correctly, then, according to you, the cost to repair the 3 panels is $150. Ms. Fergus,
Yes,
what's so unreasonable about that? Tell me why you don't feel that you should have to pay that.
Well, first of all, I have a contractor who can come and replace those pieces easily. It's just a piece of metal, I guess, boarded into...
Your contractor's going to charge you less than $150?
I'm sure. I know. He's like a
sure?
family friend.
Oh, well,
I'm sure he will.
But see,
he's a family friend.
Ms. Hayes doesn't have to let you pick your guide to do it. In other words,
that's fine.
If you and I have a car accident, I don't have to take my car to your Uncle Eddie's. I could take it to where I want to take it because you hit my car. You get what I mean? So, so that's the first reason. What's the second reason that you won't just pay her for the damage?
I didn't even know she was suing me. That's one thing, to be honest. That's the first on the list. I never even knew she was suing me. I found it in the mail, and I'm like, what? And when I seen Linda, I'm like, Linda? I'm like, the lady next door? I mean, believe me, if she would have said that it meant that much to her, not that she even had to bring me to court, I would have clearly had my guy.
Okay, but you say that. No, you may not. I'll tell you when you can say something, because I'm in the middle of a conversation with her. Ms. Fergus, she did ask you for the name of the tree guy. Why wouldn't you just give her the name of the tree guy?
Well, why didn't I give her the number? I called him, and he said he's on vacation. and he already knew how she
What,
was.
I'm sorry, what
because
does
he had
that have to do with anything? Why don't you just give her the number? He damaged her stuff, and
Well-
she can decide. Let me explain to you how the law works. She
Well,
could decide
okay.
whether to sue him because he damaged it or his company, his employees damaged it, or she could
Okay.
sue you as the person who
Okay.
hired the person who did it negligently.
Okay.
She
Well,
has
that's
the
fine.
option of
Okay.
going either way. All you had to do was give her the guy's phone number, and she would have probably pursued him. And you know, you say over and over in your answer to the complaint, it's a cheap fence. Well, yeah, that's why you're only getting sued for $150 and not at that. You didn't? You want me to
Oh
read-
yeah, I did. I'm
Oh,
sure. Not to
okay.
you, not just now.
Okay,
I
'cause
did.
I don't make
I said
stuff
that
up.
fence right
I mean-
there. No,
Okay.
I did. I said that fence right there is in third world countries as a
Yeah, that's actually
roof.
what you said.
And as a roof.
I was being
Okay?
kind.
Yeah, and
that would be a roof in a
It
third
is.
world country, is what you said, because it's corrugated metal.
it is. I've been a third world country.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I've
So,
been to
but that's
countries
why you're
and I've
only
seen
getting
it.
sued for $150 and not, you know, a $4,000
Okay.
fence repair. You're getting sued for the inexpensive amount that it costs to fix it. So I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff in the case in the amount of the $150. Good luck.
Okay.
So the plaintiff prevails. She is going to get the $150. Miss Fergus, let me ask, how do you feel about it?
Well, I don't feel that it's not that it's not fair, because of course I would want my fence replaced, but I think that it was juvenile that she didn't talk to me about actually suing me for the $150, because I could have gave her the $150.
So is this going to really hurt your relationship with her? You say she's, you know, she's not the greatest neighbor to have, but this is going to make it worse, I guess, isn't it?
Listen, it can't get no worse than this. I've been through. Cops been called to move my car because no, it can't get no worse. I want to believe it can't get no worse.
Well, I'm sorry, but you got to give her $150. You may not want to, but you got to do it. You got to give her $150. Ms. Hayes, you're going to get the money. How do you feel about it? You okay with that now?
I feel very well. Yes, thank you.
And do you think you can live in peace with your neighbor, with Miss Fergus, now?
I live in peace every day, every day.
Okay. Well, good luck to you, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Harvey?
You know, Doug, it's an interesting case because the plaintiff could have sued the tree guy had she had the information. Now that the defendant lost, the defendant can turn around and sue the tree guy for the damages that she ended up having to pay.
Marilyn, what actor would play you in a film about your life?
Okay, well, first we have to figure out why anybody would be interested in a film about my life. But assuming that somebody were, Mariska Hargitay, who does Law and Order, so
Law and Order, SVU?
SVU, and she SVU, and she is actually very involved in the very topic that her show's about. Right. She runs an organization that is for survivors of sexual abuse, and she's just a lovely, lovely person.
Wow.
So I wonder if anybody ever tells her, "Hey, you look like Judge Milian." I've always been curious about that.
That's great. She doesn't.
I'm sure she says, "No, I don't." You know?
She doesn't just talk the talk. On
No,
TV,
she walks the walk
in real life, which is great.
She's a really cool lady.
Well, as for me, you know, it's funny. Whenever somebody says, "Well, who would you have play you in a movie?" You always pick somebody.
Does that happen to you a lot? Do people ask you?
No, but if they did, you wouldn't say, you know, I'm Marty Feldman or Buddy Hackett, or you always pick somebody who's like really good looking, maybe way better looking than you. So I'm no different. I would pick. I'm gonna say Rob Lowe.
That's it.
Because he's got blue eyes. He's about my height. And I like the guy. I like what he does.
He's got a square head like you do.
He does have a square head.
Yep.
He was like he grew up. I think he grew up in the Midwest somewhere, or at least most of his life. Plus, he's been married to the same woman for about 30 years, and so we have that going for us. We're getting close. We're at 28 and counting, right?
Yeah.
This is the plaintiff, Amanda Welch. She says the defendant is her neighbor and friend and sent her money on PayPal. She sent him the money back through PayPal immediately. Then PayPal took the money out of her account, claiming it was a fraudulent transaction. She doesn't know why the defendant would do her this way, but neighbor or no, she's suing him for the $497 he basically stole from her. This is the defendant, Ryan Snell. He says he gets paid on a PayPal account and it usually takes 48 hours before his money clears. So he asked the plaintiff to send the money back, and she did. Then his iPad got stolen. The thieves got into his PayPal account and wiped him out. He's accused of doing a friend all wrong.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Ms. Welch, Mr. Snell is your neighbor, correct?
Yes.
And the two of you were friends, and at some point in time, Mr. Snell had a fabulous idea, and what was that idea?
He actually had asked me if he could send me money, and then I could send it back to him on his PayPal, which in turn I did.
Why?
Honestly, I'm not sure because I don't use PayPal.
So why would you do it?
Basically, he asked me because he was my friend to do it.
Someone's going to need to explain to me what the racket is, because people don't just do that. They don't wake up saying, oh, I got an idea. Let's cancel each other out today. Let's just send each other a bunch of money. There has to be an advantage for you or for him. What is it?
No, there was no advantage for me.
Okay, great. Mr. Snell, you were helping him. Helping him why?
Because he said he was broke and he needed me to send the money back. I don't know what he did from there on.
Okay, if he's broke, how is he going to pay you through PayPal?
That's what I don't understand, Your Honor.
Well, then maybe you shouldn't be sending the money. Maybe you are not a high finance person. Mr. Snell, what's the racket?
I do heating, air conditioning, and refrigeration. Customer had paid me via PayPal, and I asked, can I transaction her the money so that way I can override the 72-hour wait time to deposit it into my account.
All right, so on a personal transaction, if you get money, you actually get the money that day and you don't have a 72-hour waiting period. All right,
Yes, ma'am.
So you said to her, send me this money and I'll send you the money right back because I need the money right now. I can't wait 72 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you send the money right back?
I sent it to her and she sent it back to me.
Okay,
So I
now,
could withdraw it that day.
right, but what you didn't realize or you didn't tell her is that there's a $15 charge for her to send you money, right?
No, there was no $15 fee for her to send me money.
Okay, now according to you, Ms. Welch, there was actually a $15 fee for you to send him money. So did you provide the proof of that in your PayPal account? Let's look at it.
It actually, Your Honor, charged me both ways. It charged for $15 for him to send it to me and then $15 to go back.
Okay. So the first thing that happens is on March 11th, Mr. Snell sends you $150 and you send him $150 back. But what happens is that $15 is taken either one way, in one direction or the other, the $15 taken. You say it's both ways, but...
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, well, why wouldn't I see $165 there instead? Or a $15 separate charge?
If you go to the actual amount and you calculate it, it shows $15 out and then $15 back. That's where the $430 came in play.
I know what you want me to do, so I'm wondering why it's not right there. So there's two transactions with him, right? He then sends you, he tells you, how about $250? Will you do $250 with me today? Don't you like smell that that something could possibly go wrong?
I didn't think that he would do a thing like that.
No, but just something could go wrong, whether it's through him or through PayPal or through some way.
I know. That's why I honestly never use PayPal. I use like Cash App and things like that, but never PayPal.
Right. So why would you do it now? Because you were just being a nice person and he was in a time of need? How'd that work out?
Not so good.
There's two transactions, the one for $250 and the one for $150. They end up costing you, according to you, and I'm going to look at it and calculate it, $15 each way. And worse than that, what happened, Ms. Welch?
Now I have no friend. Oh, now I have no friend.
Yeah, now you have no friend. But why do you have no friend? What ended up happening?
Oh, they negatived me the money because it was apparently I didn't pay it. I don't know how, but.
Well, they said that there was a problem with the account, correct? What was the problem with the account, Mr. Snell?
When my PayPal got broken into via my iPad getting stolen, the guy transferred a bunch of money. So what I did was contact PayPal and my credit card, and they flagged all my transactions.
Why don't you just flag the ones that are fraudulent? Why would you make the people who you owe money to not get their money? They flag what you tell them to flag. I saw what happened on your PayPal account. It's like $2,000 and $7,000. It was a lot of money. So those were fraudulent, and that's fine. I presume you had a police report for the theft, for the burglary of your car and the missing iPad and everything. So What happens is your 2 interest-free loans that you were finagling with this quicksand that you let yourself get into, got out of her account, and then PayPal hasn't given it back to her. And so when somebody else sent her $122, that went to pay the negative of your $265 and your $150. So she's still negative $308, but she's out actually $497. So how is it fair that the person who was helping you to buy groceries is out that money? You work, why don't you pay her the money and then figure it out in your own sweet time? Why don't you just pay her the money you owe her and then you clear it up with PayPal?
I gave her some money out of cash out of my pocket, and then unfortunately, I gave her like $60 the one day, and then unfortunately, I'd been in the hospital. I had severe staph infection, and I just got done with my surgeries, and I just got out the hospital Friday.
Okay, and do you know that to be true, what he just said, Ms. Welch, or you don't know?
He did in turn give me $55 in cash, but no, I did not know he was hospitalized. But
all right, so let's just look at your account. See, here's the thing I don't see. I don't see that you're charged $15 on the way in and on the way out. See, you're owed...
No, I was charged $15 for sending it.
Right. It's not you taking it, coming and going, Ms. Welsh. That's not how it works. What you sent to him is $250 and $150. Those are the 2 amounts that you sent to him. And then you haven't been paid for that, right?
Correct.
So if you're paid back the $250 and the $150, that's what you are out. That's $400. Do you understand that? So if he pays it to you out of his pocket, minus the $55, of course, he's already paid you. If he pays it to you out of his pocket, you're made whole, because anything that PayPal did going back and forth, there's one on this side and one on this side, and they cancel each other out, right?
Yeah, I just
don't get confused about the math. Don't get confused about the math.
Yeah.
The bottom line is you sent $250 to him and you sent $150 to him, and you got nothing because whatever PayPal did all got canceled out. So you're owed the $400 minus the $55 he's already paid you. So what you're owed is a $345.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So I am ordering him to pay you the $345, and here is my advice to you, Ms. Welsh. I don't care how close you are to somebody. Just don't get involved in quicksand. Someone else's quicksand is not your... Don't step into it, you know? Don't step into it.
Thank you,
All
Robin.
right, you're welcome. $345 plus, of course, your court costs that you had to file in order to file this case. And prejudgment statutory interest for the last 2 months that it's been owed to you. That's my verdict.
Thank you.
Mr. Snell, you understand what the judge's decision is and how you feel about it?
Fair is fair, you know. Unfortunately, I was hospitalized for a while, so...
Yeah, all right. Do you think you'll go to her for a favor like this again in the future, or figure it out some other way?
No, it's not worth the hassle.
All right. Ms. Welch, are you satisfied? The judge explained it to you carefully enough?
Yes, yes. Very
And as she
satisfied.
said, you'll stay out of the quicksand the next time, right? You're not going to do this
Definitely.
again, right? Good lesson learned. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Harvey?
Doug, this is a good example of your problems are not my problems. It may be that the defendant's PayPal account got hacked, but that doesn't excuse the defendant from paying what is owed to the plaintiff, period.
This show has talked about leash laws for dogs. What about cats? My cat roams around and uses a bathroom in the neighbor's yards. Is this a big deal? Could somebody sue me?
Cats are pretty indiscriminate about where they go to the bathroom, I guess, when they're outside. And my experience with cats is they don't take to the leash very well. It's just not something that they get along with very well. But some cities actually have cat leash
Isn't
laws.
that crazy?
Yeah.
Because there actually are cities that say, hey, if your cat is outside, your cat has to be on a leash. A cat.
Right. Or they say pet, and some of them say specifically the pet includes dogs, cats, ferrets, monkeys,
squirrels,
whatever you
right.
have. Right, you got to have them leashed. And I think a couple of big cities that come to mind would be like St. Louis, I think, and Dallas both require that, and a lot of smaller cities. Look, I had adopted a cat from a shelter, and I also brought in some foundlings. I found some kittens in an abandoned building in Coconut Grove, and I managed to get them all adopted out. But I got to say, I can't imagine putting them on a leash.
No. But the bottom line is, get online and figure out if your city is one of those cities, and if it is, it's an indoor cat.
Right. They tend to multiply.
Yeah, they tend to multiply.
These are the plaintiffs, Holly and Barry Morris. Holly says they sold the defendants a purebred bulldog from a very prestigious AKC bloodline with the agreement they'd have the puppy neutered. They refuse to abide by their agreement. They refuse to return the puppy, and they have no other choice but to sue for the $3,000 they're now owed. These are the defendants, Cynthia and Rob Clymore. Cynthia says the agreement was they only had to have the puppy neutered if they wanted the AKC paperwork, which they did not because they weren't interested in breeding him. They chose not to neuter the dog because it changes his temperament and can cause weight gain. They didn't breach the contract and owe nothing. They're accused of keeping Fido fit.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Morris, you are suing Mr. and Mrs. Clymore for $3,000 and/or the return of a dog that you sold to them. Tell me what happened.
Yes, in June 2020, we had 3 French Bulldog puppies born, and we made a website advertising the puppies, in which Ms. Clymore saw and contacted me in July. July 20th, she told me that she was interested in perhaps seeing our dogs, and so I sent her some more videos and photographs of what we had available.
Okay.
I also informed her at that time that our puppy contract was also on our puppy page and that she could click on the puppy contract and review it in full before deciding which of the dogs she may or may not want.
Okay. And which dog did she pick? Can you see the dogs up there?
Yes, she picked the dark colored one. He's a reverse brindle. He was more expensive because of his unique color and coat pattern.
Okay. Oh my gosh, look at these. How old are they in these pictures?
They're
Says
about
6 weeks, 5 or 6 weeks old. Okay.
And that's him at 8 weeks.
Okay. All right. What'd you name the dog, folks, Mr. and Mrs. Clymore?
Oscar.
Oscar. All right. Tell me what happens. By the way, what's the cost of the French Bulldog?
He's $3,000.
Okay. And is this the first time you breed your dog or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you sell them the dog and there's a contract that they sign, correct?
Right.
You folks signed a contract, correct, Mr. and Mrs. Clymore?
Yes.
All right.
I did.
Okay. And in your contract, you have a provision about the dog having to be neutered. Tell me about that provision.
It says the buyer agrees to have the puppy neutered by 7 months of age, period.
Okay.
And that's where she initialed.
Okay.
At that time, once they show proof that they did comply with the contract and they had the dog neutered, then we mail them their AKC paperwork.
Okay. And why do you wait until then to mail them the AKC paperwork, until proof of neutering?
Because we want to make sure that it actually gets done. Because once they receive the AKC paperwork, they can register the dog in their name and they can get full access to his pedigree.
Right.
That shows his lineage and all the champions and all the different health
And you don't
tests
want to
in his-
dilute the power of the lineage of the dog that you own by having everybody else also have that. Okay, I got it. So now they signed that contract, and what happens? They've had the dog now 7 months, and when you call them, what do they tell you about whether they've neutered the dog?
They said they were thinking they weren't sure that they wanted to do that anymore.
Okay, so let me talk to you, Mr. and Mrs. Clymore. What happened? Because I'm looking at the contract, and the contract does say the buyer agrees to spay, neuter said puppy by 7 months of age. Limited AKC papers will be sent to the buyer after proof of spay, neuter is received by the seller. And then she initials right after those 2 sentences. So let me talk to you, Mr. and Mrs. Clymore. I don't know who wants to talk to me first, but what's going on?
Okay, so my wife initiated the purchase of the dog as a present for me. Okay? And we have another bulldog, which is actually an English bulldog, and he's about a year older than Oscar. So my first ever experience with AKC registration was years ago, and at that time,
did you know about the contract, or she surprised you with the dog? I'm not understanding.
She surprised me with the dog.
So she signed the contract on her own.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so let me talk to you a moment, Ms. Clymore. You know that contract says, and you signed that you would neuter the dog. So what was your plan when you signed the contract that said you would neuter the dog?
I thought it was if we wanted the AKC papers, we would have to have him neutered. We don't plan on having him be a stud, any kind of puppies or anything. So it just
is your other French bulldog a girl or a boy?
Boy.
It's a boy. It's English.
Okay, English bulldog. Yes, they are. Sorry, I thought you said French. So
That's
the
okay.
other. So all right. So you get the dog, and then did you know anything about the provision about neutering?
No, it was a surprise to me when at 7 months later. So what I was
No,
getting
that's
there with,
false.
Hold on 1 minute. It's a surprise to him, not to her. He says. Was he there picking up the dog?
Surprise. He was there and he asked about it at the pickup.
He was there.
And she told
he
me
did talk to her husband.
before she purchased him, she told me that she had to ask him first. So it was never a surprise.
Okay.
He even
Either
asked
way,
about neutering.
okay, it's fine. It's fine. Let me hear from Mr. Clyburn. Mr. Clyburn, at 7 months old, you make the decision you don't want to neuter the dog?
it didn't matter to me about neutering him because I didn't want the paperwork anyway. I mean, what am I going to do with it? So
okay.
The only value with the paperwork is if I was wanting to breed him or sell him.
Right. So he's willing to take the heat and not get the AKC papers because he doesn't even intend to breed him. Why isn't that a sufficient punishment for this breach of the contract? In other words, you're demanding the return of the dog or $3,000 for the breach of the contract. And he's saying, nah, the only remedy for not neutering him is I don't get the AKC papers. And why isn't he right?
Because if you don't want the full registration, it doesn't matter if you want papers or not. Because he's not neutering, it usually costs more money. They did not pay the extra money to not have the neutering and to get
That's
the
not
full
true.
AKC.
No, just a second. The man can't breed the dog because he doesn't have the AKC papers, right?
He can breed it. He can
Well, he
still
can't
breed it and sell it without papers.
And just sell it without papers, but it won't compete
less
with
money,
your
yes.
business and the lineage of your dog because no one's ever going to know who the sire was or who the, what's the other word, damn? I don't know. It's not
Right, there's no value.
Right, there's no, yeah, his dog may be a hound dog and impregnate everybody in the neighborhood, every other dog. That could happen. But when he sells those pups, he can't compete with your business as a breeder, and he certainly won't dilute your lineage because you're not giving him the AKC papers, right?
They can still charge people to use him as a stud, and other people can pay them thousands of dollars to stud
Nobody's
him
going to pay
out.
them thousands of dollars, sweetheart.
No.
Nobody's doing that. Nobody's paying them thousands of dollars because he doesn't have AKC papers.
What I'm hearing, Your Honor, is that the Clymores wish to have full registration. They don't want to neuter.
Oh, no, they're not going to get anything.
Puppy.
They're not getting any registration. I think that's the punishment that fits the crime because it stops them from competing with you. It's just a French Bulldog without papers. It does not compete with your lineage. It can't. So it doesn't cause you any damage financially or
Your Honor,
business-wise.
they can change their mind. There is still a value in a market. And, we didn't breed the French Bulldogs for any monetary gain. We love the breed. We breed them for temperament. So they do have a great French Bulldog.
Well, you did sell him for $3,000, so don't tell me you did.
I'll be honest with you, Your Honor. If you do your research, these French Bulldogs sell to $3,000 to $5,000.
Oh no, I agree.
So
I agree. But I'm saying it is a business. I mean, it's not.
It is. But
right. Okay. I hear what you're saying, and you feel like they can't change their mind. And you're right. They can't change their mind willy-nilly, and there's a consequence to changing their mind. You can sue them because they breached the contract. There's a consequence. But then it's up to me to decide what the appropriate penalty is. And you want me to either make them give you the dog, that is not happening, or you want me to make them pay you $6,000 for the dog. And I'm not going to do that
No, we
either.
did not ask for $3,000 to get full rights. That's only $1,000 more. That's all we wanted to sue for.
Okay, so hold on. What you want to do is you don't mind if he breeds,
right?
But you just
It's
want him to
just
pay you $1,000 more. Well, that's interesting.
Right.
Let's
that's
see.
what you have to.
I am now Monty Hall from Let's Make a Deal. Are you in any way, shape, or form interested in that, Mr. Clymore?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So, but I've got to decide what the punishment is. The punishment for their breach, because it is absolutely a breach on their part. And I believe that the punishment is then you don't get to compete, because that's in there so that you don't compete with her lineage. So you don't get to do it, so they don't have to give you any AKC papers. He has always been fine with that. That, I believe, is the appropriate measure of your damages. I take away from him the ability to compete with you by saying he doesn't get any papers at all. And that is how I'm going to rule. So I'm ruling in favor of the defendant in this case, and I am making very clear that you will never see AKC papers on this dog. You understand that, Mr. Clymore, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That is my verdict.
Mr. and Ms. Morris, you heard the judge. You're going to have to change your contracts, I guess, depending upon the outcome of this case. What do you think?
I think that the Clymore's word means nothing. I think they should have read the contract beforehand, and I think people should not breed. I think you should be referred to a rescue.
All right. Well, listen, I'm sorry, but you don't prevail in this case. What's your reaction now, Mr. and Ms. Clymore?
He never did say to me, hey, if you want to breed that dog, just give us an extra $1,000 and we'll give you breeding rights. He never said that. And I wouldn't have done it because I didn't want to breed him. And Oscar's a great dog the way he is, and I don't want to neuter him. So I don't want to change his personality at all.
All right, let's get Harvey's interpretation of this. This is a really amazing case. What do you think, Harvey?
You know, it's an interesting case because ultimately the plaintiff's got no money, because the remedy here is just keeping the papers until the defendants comply, and the defendants aren't going to comply, so they're never going to get the papers showing that the dog has this kind of bloodline. What they could have done is put liquidated damages in the contract, and that means that you can write a clause saying that damages are going to be hard to compute, but if you violate the terms of the agreement, you will automatically pay us, say, $1,000. That is a way of getting money if the other side refuses to comply with the contract. But that clause wasn't in the case, and that's why the plaintiff's got no money.
I paid an attorney to file a bankruptcy case for me, and he's vanished. Never filed the case and won't respond or return my money. I notified the California bar, but they aren't giving me any advice. Do I take him to court?
Well, sure. You actually have many remedies. You can call the police and tell them that he's stolen your money.
Criminal remedy, yeah.
Criminal remedy. They might or might not. They'll just look at you and say it's a civil matter, probably.
Right.
That's number one. Number two, you can mess with his ticket, and then he'll be paying attention to you.
In other words, go to the bar.
Go to the bar. Now, he's, according to the question, they went to the California bar, but they won't give him advice. Right. The bar isn't there to give you legal advice. The bar is there for you to file a formal complaint.
Right.
If you file a formal complaint with the bar, they have to proceed.
And they will.
And they will proceed. And yeah, that's going to be a big problem for that lawyer. Big problem. They'll return your calls then.
Right, absolutely.
You know?
And then option three.
What is option three?
Suing, right? I mean,
of course, go to small claims and sue for depending on what the amount was.
Right.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for this session of the People's Court. We want to see you tomorrow, so tune in and we will see you then.